Welcome to the Agency Accelerator podcast, where we delve into the strategies, tactics, and mindset shifts that can supercharge your agency's growth. I'm your host, Rob DaCosta, and today we're exploring a topic that many agency owners face, but often don't want to talk about openly: the loneliness of running an agency. Now, running a marketing agency can be an incredibly rewarding experience. After all, you get to work with a variety of clients, you tackle diverse creative challenges and build something from the ground up. However, there's a side to agency ownership that often goes undiscussed, and that is the loneliness factor. As an agency owner, you're the one calling the shots and bearing ultimate responsibility for your business's success. And that can be a pretty lonely place to be at times. You find yourself feeling isolated, disconnected from your peers, and lacking an objective sounding board. And let me ask you this: have you ever found yourself making critical decisions for your agency in solitude, wishing that you had someone to bounce ideas off of? Or perhaps you felt the weight of responsibility resting solely on your shoulders, wondering if anyone truly understands what you're going through. And of course, everyone is looking to you for all the answers, whether that be clients or your team. Now, if you've nodded to any of these questions as I've outlined them, then stick around, because in the next 20 minutes we'll outline the ins and outs of this topic, uncover the pitfalls of going it alone, and most importantly, I'll reveal some game-changing benefits of being part of a supportive community of fellow agency owners. Now, this isn't a plug for my program, but just more about the importance of not feeling like you're on your own. One of the most common things I hear agencies telling me is how lonely it feels at the top. So whether you're feeling the isolation of agency ownership, or you're simply curious about the power of connection in this entrepreneurial world, then you are in the right place. So stay tuned as we delve into the heart of this topic and discover how you can feel less alone on your agency journey.
Accelerate your agency's profitable growth with tools, tips, and value-added interviews with your host, agency owner and coach, Rob DaCosta.
Hey everyone, I hope you are having a magnificent week. Now, in today's episode, I'll be diving deep into the value of community in all its forms. I'll share some of the pitfalls of trying to go it alone and why having a supportive network is so crucial, both professionally and personally. You'll hear some practical tips on how to find and get involved with communities that are a great fit, whether they're local meetup groups or online forums, masterminds, or industry events. I'll give you actionable advice on building real connections that can lead to new business opportunities, fresh creative inspiration, and genuine emotional support when you need it most. So whether you are a solo agency owner feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders, or perhaps you're running a larger agency but still struggling with that lonely leader mindset, this episode is for you. So let's kick this off by discussing some of the pitfalls of going it alone. Now, I'm sure many of you can relate to this. When you're running an agency, you can often feel like you're on an island, isolated from the rest of the world. When you're on your own, you're confined to your own experiences and your knowledge. After all, you only know what you know, and you've learned your lessons along the way. When you're operating in a vacuum like this without input from others, you're inevitably going to have some blind spots and knowledge gaps. This can be a significant hindrance to your growth and to the growth of the agency, and ultimately you can start to feel burnt out. Without exposure to diverse perspectives, experiences, and areas of expertise beyond your own, it becomes really easy to get stuck in your ways, whether that's relying on the same comfortable strategies and processes, or failing to evolve and adapt to a changing market conditions and trends. Now, you might think that actually I'm knocking it out of the park, Rob, but the reality is that your isolated viewpoint is keeping you from seeing potential new opportunities, or indeed identifying pitfalls that are right under your nose. It's the old "you don't know what you don't know" adage in action. Now, the lack of objective feedback and accountability is another major issue. As the sole decision maker, who's providing you an outside perspective that calls you out when your instincts are leading you astray, or to push you further when you're selling yourself and your capabilities short? It's really tough to be a true self-critic and hold yourself to the highest standards when you don't have anyone else there to keep you honest and give you more objective feedback. This isolation can have a hugely demotivating effect over time as well. That initial spark and excitement that you felt when you were launching your agency inevitably starts to dull without peers around you to fan the creative flames. It gets lonely pushing that boulder up the mountain all by yourself year after year. Lack of community connection leads to burnout, cynicism, and overall malaise about the work you once felt so passionate about. And let's face it, as entrepreneurs, we need to keep being inspired and we need to keep evolving what we do. Otherwise, we get bored and we get burnt out. Now, speaking of burnout, trying to bear the entire burden of your agency success and growth all alone is a recipe for chronic stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. As the sole owner and operator, every last responsibility and decision rests squarely on your shoulders, from high-level strategy and pipeline management down to oversight on client work and day-to-day ops. It's an absolutely overwhelming amount for one person to carry indefinitely. And if you find yourself pulled into everything, every decision sitting with you, all the clients looking to you for answers, all your team looking to you for answers, then again, it's going to definitely lead to burnout. And one day you're going to sit down and go, what on earth am I doing? Why did I start my agency? And if I sound like I'm speaking from personal experience, it's because that's exactly how I felt towards the end of running my agency. The reality is we are human and we're not meant to live and work in a total silo like that. Attempting that isolated lone wolf approach as an agency owner, thinking that you're Superman or Superwoman, simply isn't sustainable from a practical standpoint or from a personal well-being perspective. We need connection, we need support, we need diversity of thought. We need collaboration to truly thrive over the long haul. So if any of those pitfalls are striking a chord based on your own experiences so far, please just know that you're not alone in feeling that way. Loneliness comes with the territory of agency ownership, unfortunately, but it doesn't have to be that way if you're proactive about getting connected to a community. So that's what I want to talk about in the next part of this podcast, the value of community. So if totally going it alone as an agency owner is such a potential minefield, what is the antidote? Well, the solution lies in being an active part of a community, a tribe of like-minded peers who can help fill in the blind spots and provide the support and collaboration opportunities you're missing out on otherwise. Now, I just want to jump here and say this isn't an ad for my group, the Self-Running Agency, but my genuine belief in the power and benefits of being part of a community of like-minded business or agency owners. So let's start with one of the biggest benefits, access to diverse perspectives, experiences, and areas of expertise beyond our own. Within a community, you've got a brain trust of professionals with varieties of backgrounds and specialities all coming together. This diverse community exposes you to new ways of thinking and working that you'd never arrive at solely based on your own experiences. It's like building an advisory board filled with trusted experts that you can bounce ideas off of or turn up to for guidance in areas where your skills or knowledge might be lacking. You're no longer relying solely on gut instincts. You've got an entire hive mind of wisdom to draw from. Speaking of drawing from others, being part of a community naturally opens doors to incredible opportunities for collaboration, networking, and partnerships. Within your tribe, you've got partners ready and waiting to join forces on projects that allow you to punch above your weight, or advisors to connect you to their networks and resources as you develop new business prospects and leads. On a more personal note, that sense of camaraderie and shared experience with others who deeply understand the unique challenges of agency ownership is invaluable from an emotional, supportive perspective. These are your people who just get it in a way that your friends, your partner, or your family might not. They make you feel less alone in the ups and the downs and commiserate, motivate, and inspire you through the tough patches that all entrepreneurs unfortunately and inevitably face. That motivation and accountability piece is absolutely crucial as well. It's easy to let things slip or to start coasting a bit when you're totally isolated, or just to be dragged by he who shouts loudest, without focusing on the things that are going to truly move the needle for you. But with a community around you, there's always going to be folks there to give you a nudge in the right direction or call you out if you're resting on your laurels or focusing on the wrong things. Positive peer pressure and a bit of healthy competition can be an incredibly driving force. In my program, the Self-Running Agency Implementation Group, we match people up of a similar shape and size so they have an accountability buddy, someone to make commitments to and to be held accountable. And I have my own accountability buddy as well, and I know firsthand the value of it. We jump on a call every week, we set our top 3 goals, we assess what we did last week, and we hold each other to account as well, of course, as supporting them. It's something that we're really focusing on in my group, the Self-Running Agency, to create as many ways for our members to be accountable for getting stuff done and focusing on their key priorities. Now, beyond just support, being plugged into an active agency community gives you inside access to emerging best practices, new ideas and strategies, tools and resources. That could give you a competitive advantage over your competition. You get to learn from the bleeding edge experiences of others and adopt or adapt those lessons before your competitors even know what hit them. Oh, and speaking of opportunities, communities are also a hotbed for new business referrals and partnerships to grow your agency. Through the connections that you build, you're bound to find agencies in different markets or with complementary offerings that could lead to mutually beneficial arrangements. You're expanding your sales funnel just by virtue of being part of the group. So that's just some of the value and the benefits you gain from investing time and energy into plugging into a community versus isolating yourself and taking that lone wolf approach. The potential upside for your agency's growth trajectory and even your personal sense of well-being is just massive when you've got a supportive tribe around you. The big question is, what are some of the practical ways to go about finding and integrating with the right communities with you specifically? And that's what we're going to talk about next. Now let me just put a pause on here and jump in quickly to introduce you to our free bi-monthly 45-minute agency workshops. These sessions are packed with value, focusing on the critical challenges you as an agency owner might face, from defining a clear niche to setting the right pricing, from preventing feast or famine to team building. We've got you covered. Each workshop includes an in-depth exploration of the week's topic along with a Q&A session to address your pressing concerns. And remember, these are providing you value with no sales pitches. So head over to dacostacoaching.co.uk/agency-accelerator-live-events. That's Agency Accelerator Live Events, and save your seat. Okay, back to today's topic. Hopefully by now I've convinced you of the immense value that being part of a community can provide, both for the agency's growth and also your personal well-being as an owner. The question is, what are some of the practical ways to start integrating yourself into the right communities? Now, one of the most straightforward paths is to join relevant industry associations, networking groups, or online communities that are all focused in the agency world. I think that's particularly important. We need to meet other agency owners, so it's fine going to your local chamber of commerce, and that does give you people to talk to, but they're not necessarily agency owners. However, the odds are that there are local groups or social media forums right in your area filled with other agency owners who are facing similar challenges. This gives you an instant tribe and a built-in calendar of events for connecting face-to-face or virtually. We have a 3 group with this podcast and people who attend my Agency Accelerator live events, and I'll put details of that group if you want to join in the show notes. And that provides much of what I've been talking about in today's podcast. Speaking of events, make an effort to attend conferences or other virtual or in-person gatherings whenever possible. For example, my Agency Accelerator live workshops that I run every second Wednesday. These networking and knowledge sharing opportunities are really invaluable, but the secret sauce is the casual conversations and the relationship building that happens in the hallways or in the discussions of the virtual events. This is where the magic connections happen. For an even tighter-knit experience, you might consider joining a mastermind group with other agency owners, such as my own program, the Self-Running Agency Implementation Group. Having that trusted inner circle to work through challenges, share wins, and hold each other accountable can be a game changer. Just having a reoccurring space to open up vulnerably about what you're dealing with pays massive dividends. As someone smarter than me said, people join these groups for the content, but they stay for the community. And I know firsthand that this is absolutely true, both in my program and also in the mastermind entrepreneurial group that I'm in. If you're earlier in your agency journey, seeking out an experienced mentor or coach can provide incredible guidance and support as you navigate the ownership path. Having someone who's been there, stood in your shoes and done it in your corner can help you learn from their mistakes and accelerate your own growth. We don't all need to learn by our own mistakes. We can definitely learn by others. Their outside perspective alone is worth the investment. No matter what types of communities you plug into, though, the key is to make the effort to build genuine relationships and connections. Don't just be a wallflower or treat it as some kind of transaction. Take the time to get to know people on a personal level, look for ways to provide value and be consistently engaged. The more you put in, the more you get out. And that's something I've learned a lot about my group. I know that I can take a horse to water, but I can't make it drink. In other words, you have to invest not only the time and money in joining a group like that, but also the time to contribute and participate. Finally, be open to asking for help and sharing about your struggles transparently with your communities. There's power in making yourself vulnerable. Chances are others are dealing with or have dealt with similar issues, and that is what I love about my community. The openness and honesty and willingness to share. By having the courage to open up, you create space for others to do the same. You'd be surprised how quickly a burden can feel lighter when you realize that you're not alone in carrying it. At the end of the day, resisting isolation and fostering a sense of community connectedness is one of the most impactful things that you can do for your long-term agency owner journey. The path is arduous and no one can walk it alone indefinitely without burning out or selling themselves short or wondering why on earth they started this monster that they've now created. But with an engaged tribe around you, no hurdle is insurmountable. You've got the power of a crowd ready to lend perspective, resources and support whenever you need it most. So I'll leave you with this. Don't wait until you're already feeling hopelessly isolated or disillusioned to start plugging into communities. Get proactive about fostering those connections now and reap the benefit for years to come as your agency scales to new heights. You've got this, and remember, you don't have to do it alone. As we reach the end of our discussion today, let's quickly recap the key points we covered about the value of community for agency owners and overcoming that isolation that so many of us face. We looked at some of the major pitfalls of trying to go it alone, things like limited perspective, lack of accountability, difficulty staying motivated, and of course the high risk of burnout from carrying the full burden alone. Flying solo might seem appealing at first, but it simply isn't sustainable for the long term. The antidote, as we discussed, is being part of an active, supportive community. By surrounding yourself with a tribe of like-minded peers, you gain access to diverse expertise, opportunities for collaboration and growth, emotional support, and camaraderie when you need it most. And of course, exposure to new ideas that could give you an edge. Having the community connection provides motivation, accountability, and the fresh perspectives required to keep evolving your agency over time instead of getting stuck in your ways, getting demotivated, disillusioned, and missing new opportunities. At the end of the day, we're human. We need connection, and we can't thrive in total isolation, personally or professionally. So if any part of what we covered today resonated with your own experiences and struggles as an agency owner, I highly encourage you to take action and start getting proactive about finding and integrating into communities that are the right fit for you and your agency's goals. And of course, do consider my group, the Self-Running Agency, or if you're not ready for that, then join my free agency group, the Agency Accelerator Live. You can get all the details of both of these in the show notes. The impact it can have on your agency's trajectory and your own sense of fulfillment as an owner is just massive. Breaking out of that isolation has the power to reignite your passion, expose you to new opportunities, and provide a support system required to help you clear any kind of hurdle coming your way. It's an investment in your long-term success and happiness that pays dividends year after year. So don't keep going it alone out of comfort or that sense of I'm failing if I ask for help, but rather get plugged in and watch what's possible when you've got an entire tribe there to help you propel yourself forwards. No matter what path you choose, just know that you've got this and you don't have to face the challenges of agency ownership alone any longer. Okay, so that's it for today's episode. I hope it's inspired you to reach out and look externally to get some help. And as ever, if you found the episode useful, please do consider leaving a review. I've shown you how to do it on Apple Podcasts. And of course, please do share this episode with your colleagues. I'm trying to impact as many people as I possibly can. But other than that, have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next Thursday for the next episode of the Agency Accelerator podcast.